What is up, guys? Welcome to week 13 of the All In podcast with Bad Beat Bryce and Ryan the Rock. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well.
Love to hear it.
Who's this guy?
We've got Evan, aka I'm a Bot, back. You may remember him from, I believe it was the very first episode we had him on.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
But,
he's
yeah,
making his return. In what episode are we in again, Bryce?
We're on week 13.
Jesus,
Dang. Week 13, huh?
oh my
Crazy
God.
stuff.
Which week was I on? I was on what, week 3 before?
It was one of the first episodes. It might have been week 1.
I honestly
Dude.
think you're
You
Pretty
guys have
early.
just come such a long way. I can't even remember.
It's been a few months.
Crazy.
Yeah, we've
Remember
had
that time you had
WinoPoker on.
WinoPoker?
It's whatever.
Dude,
It's been a good
so
time,
when
man.
you had WinoPoker on, was it just like you basically on like a date with her, or was it different? Did you
Dude,
just
yeah, no,
actually
the
talk
thing
poker?
is-
and her
like,
man.
she was actually-
we could ever dream of having. So
She was on a trip with her husband. They're married, right?
yeah, they're married.
Yeah,
they're married
I
with a
thought so.
kid.
I mean, I knew they had a
Oh my
kid. People have kids these days. I knew they're at least engaged. But yeah, the thing is, she didn't want to go on cam because, I think he was near them. But I think it was kind of a date. That's the vibe I was getting. I don't know about you, Ryan. I knew you were there spectating.
Yeah, that's
so-
interesting. Right.
But
Yeah.
it felt very, very date vibey to me. But
Hey,
we'll see what
Well,
happens. We'll see what happens.
I think she
No one
said
knows.
at the very beginning that she had just gotten back from something, and I think that's what the timing was. But regardless, it doesn't matter. It was a good interview. It was a
Yeah.
great
I'll
interview.
have to go back and watch that.
You gotta. Oh, you haven't
Yeah,
watched
we'll
it,
see.
Evan? Wow, fake fan over here.
This guy, we're having him on. Get this guy out of
Dude,
here.
I watch my episodes, okay? The ones that I'm on.
Oh,
All right?
that's it. Okay, buddy.
Very, very vain.
So
How's
Bryce,
your poker
what is,
grind been since?
oh yeah, wait a minute. Okay.
My poker grind?
Yeah.
Ooh. So June was brutal. June was a little rough.
Join the club.
Yeah. So I closed out June pretty well, but I ended up down. I was basically breaking even in Hold'em, and then I was down 4K in PLO. So yeah, that was frustrating. But to be fair, I did take a shot and lost 3K in a session. So that that made up for a lot of the loss.
Oof.
It happens. Yeah, so I had a pretty good June, definitely winning month, but this last week has been my worst week of the year. I lost 4K, 3K in a session or whatever, 2-4, which was kind of brutal. But it happens. Bounced back, won that binked that $200 tournament yesterday, so we're thriving.
Oh my God! Get out of here.
Downswings happen. But so before we get into the hand histories today, we're gonna. What is our poker topic of the day, Ryan?
It is going when and how to go for thin value.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
I thought we were talking about something else today, but let's do it.
Well, I mean, I thought that was what we were talking about.
No, that works. I thought we were talking about goal setting. All right. How do you go for thin value, Mr.
That
Ryan
was
the Rock? What did
How
you say,
and when
Evan?
do I go for thin value? I was going to ask you guys because this is not really a topic that I'm super advanced on.
I don't go for thin value. I go for max value, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Because in everything that I've been taught, I tend to put people to much larger decisions. So I don't, I tend to turn my smaller pairs or misdraws with a pair, what have you, into larger bluffs on rivers instead of going for thinner value. So I think it's more because I am newer to the game that I struggle to go for smaller sizings on rivers because I'm not sure how to range someone properly to make the read that they're weak enough to go for thin value, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think I mostly go for thin value when the board's hella wet and you just don't expect them to call with much of anything. For example, if I have the nut flush and someone just absolutely has shown barely any aggression, called me on turn, check flop or something weird like that. I might min raise their bet on the river or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
If I have the absolute nuts and there's not many hands they can have. But I mean, I generally don't go for thin value that often, to be honest.
I was more referencing it in the context of you having a marginal made hand and then betting
Exactly.
it as it were the best hand.
That
was more the context I was
incredibly player dependent. Like
Right.
I'll bet second, even third pair on occasion against certain players that I just know will call me with ace high, fourth pair, bottom pair. Like a non-fish, I'll pot bet like the turn with like third pair
He's a
if I think I'm
unique
good.
player.
And I know he's gonna hear this, Jamie, and I love it. But like, we'll literally pot bet with nowhere near the nuts. Like incredibly marginally made pair. It's just a matter of knowing like your opponent is what it boils down to, and being able to get away if they do raise you, and you know your hand's marginal, and it should be a pretty just snap fold. I mean, it should be obviously, but yeah, it's just. I think also a lot of people make the mistake of marginally betting when they plan to fold. Because I think a lot of times you just need to make the check. If you plan on folding a river and you have a very marginal hand and you think like a decent percentage of the time they're going to be raising you, like you should just check back. I mean, obviously it's very player dependent, but yeah, I think a lot of people make that mistake, and then I can raise with my blocker and then just fold. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
Well, I think the concept. I think it kind of it comes down to the concept of like being able to bet fold but out of position on rivers. I think that's going to be a big thing. You know, it's like the classic example would be, you know, you have something like ace king on like a king like 7 deuce board, like rainbow, and then you bet, and then they call, and then you bet, and then they call, and then the river is like, you know, a queen. You know, it's like you know, deuce 7 king queen, like that's the board, rainbow, right? So it comes down to being able to bet fold those situations because it's such an underbluffed spot in no limit hold'em. And
that's a really interesting point. Yes, you're totally right.
It's so underbluffed on rivers, like, and it's so because it's underbluffed because players aren't going for value enough on rivers, right? So if the guy's in position and he has like 2 pair, he might not raise if you like bet half pot on the river, which is just nuts. Like that is like insane. And so because people aren't even doing that when they're raising, it's just almost never a bluff. It's almost always value. So
absolutely.
I think. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. I think at lower stakes, people just aren't bluffing enough. And I think when people have these marginal hands and they get raised, like they make the mistake, they're like, oh, like they just talk themselves into thinking they could be bluffing.
Yeah.
And are they bluffing a small percentage of the time? Yeah. But like literally like live 1-3 players on the river specifically, it's like 10%, maybe. Like bluffers on the rivers.
That might be too high.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's so small, and people just talk themselves into calling too much. And bet folding, like people also, like even in tournaments or whatever, like I'll raise the button 3x and snap fold when I get raised. You know what I mean? Like people make the mistakes of just like freaking CJ, if he raises, he is not folding. Does not matter the amount. He is calling. If he raises with 7-8 of clubs and gets 4x free, he's not folding. Ever.
No way. I think that's what you see, and you see that pre-flop, you see it post-flop, and especially on rivers, it's insane. Like on rivers, it's ridiculous. On pre-flop, at least you could flop something, you know? You're not dead pre-flop. But pre-flop, I mean, people are calling 3-bets out of position. They're not 4-betting enough. They're not even 3-betting enough. And so it's like, so they put themselves in these, you know, inherently passive positions where they're just not going to fold, instead of going for aggression and, you know, either bluffing or trying to go for like that thin value and having the capability to fold when raised. And that's the issue that a lot of people have, is they're just like, oh, I'll just check call to the river. And then, you know, because, you know, they'll like convince themselves that that's the best line when really it's just, they're not studied enough or not disciplined enough.
He muted himself at the end there, but I totally get the point that you were going for.
He did.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because there are situations where like you can bet a marginal hand on the river and then say, you know, if I get raised, whenever he has it. And that's not like a
Absolutely.
bad way to go about it, because you're right. At a high enough percentage of the time, you're risking so little for so much reward that it doesn't matter that you get blown off your marginal hand. And I find myself getting tilted by that sometimes, because I thought I had somebody red for that hand, and I go for some small value bet on a river, and I get blown off my hand. And then you kind of get upset about it. But you have to think, like, in the long run, that is much more profitable for you.
Ryan, what the hell did you have yesterday when I 4x'd you with the nuts and you called me?
Shh.
Like that, I'm so curious.
I think I had 2 pair.
Oh, okay. I literally thought
I
you
had something
called me-
good. I didn't have
I thought
like
you
one
called
pair.
me with like top pair shit kicker or something.
No.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, it's okay. But anyways, I think a huge mistake people make is not thinking ahead. I mean, like how we price people in on the turn, like they're not even thinking about how they're priced in. They're just thinking about, oh, should I call this for $40? Like I think I'm good. But then they just have to call off on the river because they priced themselves ahead. And they realize it on the river, but how do you not realize it's literally one street ahead? Like it's not like we're talking, I mean, you should be thinking about like all the streets ahead, but like they can't even think like one step ahead. Like they're just such level 1 players that they can't even conceptualize like thinking at a higher level.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you have to, you have to keep putting that in your thought process. Go ahead.
I mean, you can see it in live poker all the time. When your opponent all of a sudden kind of like sits back in his chair and just like really starts to think. You see that thought spike go up, and you're like, oh wow, like you basically were feel playing this hand until right now. Like this is what you've been doing. You haven't had an active thought process for the entire hand.
That's a great.
And
then they look at the pot and they're like, "Oh, this isn't good." I've seen that exact look. I've seen that.
Yeah,
exact
exactly.
Look.
And that's where I think you can size your bets accordingly. Where it's like, you can kind of go like medium, big, small, as in like medium on flop, big on turn, and then small for thin value on river, because their range at that point is.
And you muted yourself again.
Stop muting yourself.
Honestly, my AirPods keep coming in and out. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Unbelievable.
You had to flex that they were AirPods, not just regular wireless headphones. Buddy's crushing it in poker. But
I know, right?
That's definitely a good point. Do we want to hop into the hands, Ryan? Or
yeah, I totally think so.
So, we're gonna keep Evan and his beautiful insight on for today's podcast. For all the hands. So this first hand was. Do we know who this was submitted by, Ryan, or is this someone who slid into my DMs?
This was a viewer submission, whichever one. Whoever the gentleman from Instagram was.
All right, so let me share my screen very quickly. We're back to the 2-screen monitor. We're not going to have the matrix, thankfully. Thanks to everyone who tuned in last week.
I'm super excited. My computer's coming in a few weeks. Or, in 2 weeks.
We got
and then we're going to have a much better setup.
Let's go.
Getting rid of the Mac. Woo!
Alrighty, so hero is under the gun. No, we're not under the gun. Just kidding. We're on the button with kings. Raise to 10, 5x pre under the gun. Pretty big raise.
Yeah, welcome to...
Got a call. Is this online or live? Did it say?
I think it did not say.
Not big enough. No, not big enough.
Not nearly big enough, because there's 2 callers in between, and this is a... We see this time and time again.
45 at least. I'd go to 45.
Oh, at minimum, there's 2 callers in between.
I'd go 50, 100%. No, I'm saying at least. Like 30 is just like so. No one. I'm shocked that dude folded. Because
again, you really have to be putting into your thought process of what are the odds that you're laying your opponent to call, and when you raise to that amount, if one person calls, everybody else is calling.
I think one of the big things that people need to think about when they're raising is what are you raising for?
Right.
Why are you raising?
What's the purpose?
It's normally got a dual purpose, right? And that is number one, because you have a good hand, or you have right. So let's say you have a good hand in this situation.
Kings,
right? You have kings, so you want to get value for your good hands. Because if you're not raising bigger, you're leaving EV on the table, basically, in these spots. And then also, you're trying to thin the field, right? Poker is a lot like a fight in that way. Like
People
would
don't
you-
think about that. People like don't think about how it's better.
They want to go
heads
5
up on
ways
a
and hit the
flop.
nuts. That's what they want to
Yeah,
do. It's
it's-
kings. They just want to get. There's no way you can lose with kings, Evan. You can't. It's impossible.
Right. But just like the last point on that I'll make is like I said, like poker's a lot like a fight, right? Like, would you rather fight 6 people at one time, or would you rather fight one person at a time, right? So but people don't think about either of those things most of the time. So
I
anyway.
agree. So now
Should have gone
somehow
bigger.
we're heads up. Unbelievably, we're heads up with $83 in the pot. And I believe under the gun
believe-
checks.
Yeah.
Yep. And we
bets
bet 30. So okay.
I don't hate.
I
hate the
honestly
sizing.
I don't mind the sizing at all, because again, we're thinking about what's calling us here. A bet of 30, you're going to get a call out of a 10 on a paired board. But if you go bigger, you're never getting a 10 to fold here, but you're also, you're really
you
in
can
bad
get-
shape against any
You
ace.
can get Jack Queen. Like you can.
Right.
You can get
some of the weird
Queen
draws.
high, yeah,
you can
you
get
can
the
get
gut
some-
shots to draw here. The king queens, the king jacks.
or any low pocket pair is gonna call you here.
Right.
So hang on, sorry. The villain UTG, he raised to 10 and then you 3-bet him to 30.
To
Is that
30,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
It's
then-
not me. It says our Paul, but it's a viewer submission.
Okay. So he still retains all his like jacks and queens here too. And
Yeah.
so he can have those hands, and those hands aren't going to fold to 1 bet, especially to 30. So I think that's a fine bet to keep those hands in. And so basically you're keeping in all his non-ace X hands, which is fine.
How many ace X's do you think he has here? Do you think he's looking to 4-bet ace king here most of the time? I mean, obviously, do you
Right.
think ace jack suited here raises to 10 under the gun, or do you think that's a little too loose of a play?
I think it definitely. Yeah.
It depends
I
on
think-
who the person is, but
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
obviously he has aces in his range, but like
Right.
he shouldn't have ace king here too often.
Right. Yeah. You retain most of the aces in your range here, and so you definitely have you definitely have that range advantage. But for him, he can definitely have a lot of range or a lot of ace X as well. I think.
right as the
For sure.
3-better.
So 30's fine. Let's see what the turn brings. Oh, he called, by the way.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
of
The gun
course,
does not
yeah.
fold. So that's an important thing to note.
Nice.
Okay, so fairly favorable turn card. I'm interested to see how this plays out. 100, huh? Interesting.
Now, interesting that his stack size is 200 here on the turn, by the way. So we've got 143 in the pot, and he's got 200 back when it gets checked to him. And, obviously, as we've just spoken, it's really hard for him to have ace king here. There's literally 2 possible combinations of ace king. It's possible for him to have ace 10, but again, really slim chance of that.
Are you
and
saying he
all
bet
other
too big?
aces. No, I'm not saying that. And then all other aces, I mean, they're not boated up, so you're winning. You're ahead right now. But I don't know about the sizing. I don't know what he should have done here. Do you think 100's fine with 100 back?
I don't mind it. What do you think's calling? Like, do you think a 10 can still call on this turn if he doesn't have an ace or a king?
You're right.
I think the answer is I don't know. And I would lean. I think the sizing's fine. I mean, at this point, you're targeting a weaker ace. I think.
Yeah.
And if he happens to have like king queen, which we block obviously, or king jack or ace jack, I mean that's still an
Okay.
ace.
So if he calls here, we're expecting him to show up with an ace a lot of the time.
Nines and below
Right.
shouldn't be calling this turn
I
card.
agree.
So
I agree.
I think that this bet is fine.
Interesting.
And I think
Okay.
it's setting up the river.
So we're saying that if under the gun is folding out all 10s and marginal pairs, that we're ranging them towards mostly aces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
it's
I think that's a fine sizing. I think that it's important to start targeting ace X at this point.
Right.
After the flop call, he doesn't have to have ace X, but if he does, you want to be able to set up a river jam, like Bryce said. And if he doesn't have ace X, you are folding out the rest of his hands, but those hands aren't going to call almost any sizing anyway. Like his
Right.
10x, his jacks, his queens,
Totally
like those
in a
are all
list.
folding out. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, I think that's fine.
I've been in Solve for Y Academy.
Yeah,
Wait, Ryan,
I
have you
like
how
it.
seen this
Matt Burke says
river?
in the
I'm
last
pretty
one.
sure I know how this turns out. But
Yeah.
so silly.
I've never seen this before, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Hand, yeah.
Excited.
It's a ridiculous hand. So there
Oh,
river
good.
comes an ace.
Okay.
So definitely the worst card in the deck. and he jams.
He opened jams?
He opened jams.
Under the gun jam.
Oh, man.
So brutal.
No, under the gun rips it. Yeah.
So brutal.
That's the problem is that as we've discussed leading up to this point, I mean, can you fold kings here? Let's think about it. What could he possibly be jamming here that makes any semblance of sense as a bluff?
King, queen.
I guess.
Which we block.
Which you
Yeah,
chop
which
with.
we
trying to
block.
get
You
you
have
off.
literally all the
Which
kings.
makes no sense
and
because you have all
yeah,
the aces. I agree.
exactly.
I think it might be a fold. It's so sick.
And you
'cause
only have $100 back though,
Well,
which
I was
is
gonna
the
say,
real
what-
issue.
I
What's
thought he had
the,
$200 back. I thought he
what
No,
were the
he had
effective
200
stats?
back on the turn, so when he bet the 100 on the turn, he only had
We
100
need to
back.
refresh this hand.
Yeah, what are the effective stacks here?
Yeah,
Refresh this hand.
they're smaller than you think they are.
It's weird because it
Oh.
goes.
I think he
so
starts the hand with like 270 in front of him. Yeah, 260 in front of him.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Right. So
270.
yeah, when the turn action happens,
So the
he's down
effective
to
stack is
$100.
200? Is that right?
The effective stack is the
260 free.
260.
260.
free.
Sorry, it's really
Right.
small on my screen. I can't see it very well. Okay. So, hey, look at that. I didn't know
Wow,
you could do
Bryce,
that. This is
why
way
haven't
better.
you done that every single podcast we've ever had?
I didn't realize how small it looked.
Okay, so oh, dang.
Oh, oops. Oh, totally was not
That's
paying
funny.
attention to the speed.
I would say like I'll give kind of this might be sort of a unique take. I don't know. But I would say in live poker, I would fold this, and in online poker, I would call this.
That's so interesting. I totally agree.
I don't hate that logic.
I totally agree.
People are so much more
Explain.
weighted. Yeah, people are so much more weighted toward having bluffs online than they are live, and that has almost all to do with like I don't want to say social anxiety, but sort of that. Like
Yes.
like not wanting to
Or
look
being
stupid.
caught bluffing.
not
Yes,
not wanting to look
100%.
like an idiot. Yeah, and that's the thing. When you have to look everybody, all other like 8 players at the table, and they're like, "Oh wow, you just did that with like pocket deuces, right? Like that's insane." But people are so much more willing to do that online, and so I think hero calling is a lot more profitable. And I think specifically in this hand, you're just too high up in your range here to fold most of the time. I mean, you have the second nuts, so I would say, at least I think it's the second nuts, unless there's a straight flush out there.
No,
But
it's just
I don't.
Yeah, there is a straight
Okay.
flush out there.
Wait,
he could
is there?
have queen jack of diamonds for the straight
Okay.
flush.
Still,
No,
So
I don't
yes,
do
there's an extra possible combination that
Right.
beats you.
so yeah, I would say you're still probably too high up in your range to be folding that online at like 1-2.
Yeah.
Especially when you retain a lot of the ace X. But that is a combination of hands that he can have. I mean, ace
Right.
queen is very much a
Makes sense.
possibility.
Especially ace queen off, not 4-betting. That makes sense. We just ran into
I
the
think
very
ace queen
tippity
makes a
top
ton
of
of
the
sense.
range.
I think ace queen makes a ton of sense.
Yep, for
sure.
sure. And that's the sad thing. It's like you're trying to get value. And,
You did everything right.
Yeah, and then you just kind of got screwed.
Yeah.
But that's poker.
How it goes
poker,
sometimes.
man.
So I think this next hand is also viewer submission. Before we go into this hand, I actually want to go over a quick, it'll take 2 seconds, hand from one of our viewers who was talking about the importance of ICM implications. And he was in a tournament, and he had 4 people left. And it was a $22 tournament, and first place paid $1,100, second $950, third $700, fourth $520. And basically, there was a player who had been shoving like the last 3 hands, and he is in the small blind, and the third hand, the button jams, and he has pocket 8s for 24 big blinds, and he calls off.
Oh man.
He's covered.
Yes.
Oh Jesus.
So I told him that this was way too loose of a play.
Well, you got to think about the ICM
Um,
implications. How many people are left in the tournament?
4.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Is he covered? How is you said the button's the big stack?
Is he all in?
I don't know how
Nice
many
clock.
exact.
Thanks, Dad.
I don't know his exact stack, but
The
he
clock.
was covered. So he called off his 24 big ones, and even though this player had been shoving, every single hand. If this player has something like ace 10 suited, you're still not in
You're
great
still flipping,
shape,
right.
especially with ICM implications. You're gonna have better spots.
Right.
If you
The math
had,
is not in your favor.
If you had 10 big blinds and to want to send it with eights, go for it. But 24,
you
are
can still have
way
lots
too
of
deep.
time. Correct.
I think 14 big blinds is the only. I'd consider it, but I still think I'd fold. Obviously, it depends on the exact stack sizings and the players. But I think 24 big blinds, I think it is just bad.
That's crazy.
Right.
I think I totally agree. I think because you got to think about it. 24 big, obviously, like we know this, but like in cash games and in tournaments, at the end of a tournament, number one, number one. Most tournaments are structured where the top 5 are where the big pay jumps start to happen.
Exactly.
Right? And so the difference between like the pay jump between 9 and 10 and 3 and 2 is insane. Like it's way different.
It's $550 for fourth and $1,100 for first. So he essentially could have been giving up $550 in a $22 tournament for calling off eights. You can pick a better spot.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, at best you're flipping. And there's with 24 big blinds, you basically have a monster stack. In fact, I don't know. I'd be interested to see where he was at as far as obviously he wasn't chip leading, but was he like?
Oh, he actually did say that.
Depends on the blind structure. Somebody could have.
Oh, it was first place. He was in first. The dude who shoved. We have third most chips, I think he said.
Okay, yeah. So it isn't a third. Okay, so he's third most. So there's two bigger. I don't know. They could have had 40 and 60. It makes sense.
Here. But there's like
100 big blinds on the table still.
The opponent ended up having ace 7 and ended up spiking ace on the river. So we actually did get it in good, which is ridiculous and makes this play look not as bad because for all we know, during this 5 hours, he got more information. But still, I just think it is
right. You just happened to run into the rock bottom of his button open jamming range. Like that's just called getting lucky there, right? Because we're talking about 90% of the time there.
And you got 3 outed on the river, but this is not a profitable call in the long run.
Like 30% of the time you're just dead to an overpair.
You're still
that's not fun.
Like 33% in that spot pre-flop?
Right. Yeah, ish, yeah.
Or 66. Yeah.
A little more.
You're like 2/3.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. And so it's like, I mean, that's just like you said, the ICM implications are just too great at the end of the tournament like that. Like if there are 15 people left, I'm probably thinking more about calling. But it's like I said, it's I think that's a mistake, but
absolutely
interesting. So this hand is actually Evan's hand, by the way.
We mentioned ICM, and that means the independent chip model, which is basically a model used to calculate your equity in the tournament. We haven't really, I don't know if we've touched on that.
Right, so you basically just take all the chips and you count them up, and then you take the prize pool and how the pay jumps are, and you basically then decide what everyone's stack is worth in dollars based on what the payout structure is. It's really interesting, and it helps you make decisions because you can literally do the math on whether it's worth it for you to call based on the amount of chips in play and what everyone has in front of them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of calculators online you can use. So if you're an online player, you can use all this stuff. Also, I just got a text that said, Bryce, why didn't you tell me Evan was going to be on? So apparently you're a very popular guest.
Dude, I'm telling you, I told you.
Definitely our best looking guest.
Give the people what they want, all right? They want me back on the podcast.
Apparently. All right, so Evan has $550, his entire net worth on the table. 6 8 of diamonds. And let's see how this hand plays out.
That's pretty funny.
So do you want to take this street by street or like?
Oh,
yes.
we're gonna take
So
it street by street.
are we at one? We're at 1-2, and he just opened to 15.
And Evan decides to don't call. It looks like. Oh, let's go.
No.
Evan raises to 40.
Yeah.
Why so
Do you want to tell us? Is middle position a special customer?
Yeah. So middle position. I mean, at the time, it's actually really
live
funny.
too, by the way.
Yeah, this is a live hand from like at least a year and a half ago. So I was not the poker player I am now. But hopefully. So this guy, I mean, he seemed like a thinking player. He was very aggressive. He's basically what I imagined Tom Dwan was like back like 15 years ago. And I was like,
15.
and so I was like, oh yeah, like this guy kind of thinks he's like really smart or whatever. And so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna kind of do a little polarized 3-betting and take it to the streets.
Yeah,
So
I mean, what
15
an
is a
interesting
huge
open.
raise.
15 is a
What-
huge open. Is that what he was
happens if
usually
he-
doing?
If he repops you, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's a
I'm
snap
so
fold,
lost.
but-
I fold. I mean,
Why do this out of position though? Like, do you think in position this
He
is a
said
better
this was a
play?
year ago, Bryce. Stop making fun
listen,
of
I
him.
wasn't thinking about it like that. Okay.
Yeah,
I was just
he was
thinking.
playing the man.
40, even if it is
Look,
polarized.
he just finished reading Super System, and Doyle Brunson told him to put all the chips in the middle. Like, what do you want him to do?
Okay. All right. Well, all right. We're gonna continue. That's a bad raise. Don't do that.
I agree with that. Actually, I think this is totally.
I
a
do.
fold.
I mean, we all agree.
All right. He's probably gonna lead for what, like, or that's even bigger than I thought. Oh my! What the fuck is happening, dude? Okay. We decide to bet 60. We're sizing up a little, I guess, because this hits our range. It's a
Sure.
damn wet board. And when we get raised, obviously we're gonna snap call with the shit flush draw, because we didn't come here to raise the $40 with 6-8 of diamonds to fold our flush draws. No, sir. No, we did not. I don't care if I have 450 and the pot's gonna be about 450. An SPR of 1. We're not thinking about that. We're thinking about winning the hand.
Never. Listen, do you want my analysis or what? All right, like
Hit
I'm
me
trying
with your
to.
analysis, please.
Listen, we have similar analysis, okay? Like, it's. I don't like this at all. All right, I think that. Oh my gosh! See, you're giving this guy too much attention, and he loves the clock.
Yeah, that's my dad.
So anyway, yeah, obviously I have a range advantage on this board. Okay, so I see bet. And actually, I don't even know. I have the nut advantage. Oh, I don't think I have the nut advantage here. Actually,
At this point in time, did you know what the word range meant?
yes, I knew what the word range meant. Okay, listen, there's a difference between understanding a concept and the application of a concept. Okay.
Okay,
Like-
Blake.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So listen, I have a range advantage here. I have all the kings, queens, aces, all that stuff. I don't have as much ace jack, obviously, as he does.
Yeah.
So he raises, and I'm going to be honest. At the moment, I just felt like he was trying to like push me around, you know. And actually, wait, this isn't even the correct board. This is the wrong board. This is not correct. It was queen high. It was queen 10, like 5 or something like that.
Well, you submitted this, so you're
Yeah.
really tarnishing the reputation
Okay,
of our
either
podcast
way,
right now.
listen, you're correct.
Okay, so it
It was
could have been
Queen
it-
10,
it-
5.
Yeah, it says king queen 10 on your text, so that's okay.
I know, yeah, but it was like something like queen 10 and then like a 5 or like a low
Okay,
five.
so that
It-
makes this
There were
a
2 diamonds.
little better.
Yeah, there were 2 diamonds. So when I get raised here, yeah, this is just a fold. Stack depths are too shallow, and I will be committed on the turn almost no matter what. So
So do you think he does this with like ace 5 of diamonds? I think he'd confidently do this with say ace 10 of diamonds. Actually, I guess that's pretty much the same hand. But
yeah,
do you think that if he has a better flush draw, you're just dead. Like
oh
you're
for
dead.
sure, yeah. But listen, I block flush draws though.
Oh yeah, he hella blocks flush draws. So there's no way this dude has a flush draw too. It's just
Dude, there's
not
no way if I have
possible.
6-8 of diamonds that he doesn't have ace jack of diamonds. Like, it's just
Yeah, no
impossible.
way. I don't think he would raise.
That's
with
what I
ace
like to
jack of
say.
diamonds, obviously. Well,
No,
not
if he
necessarily
raised with
obviously,
ace
because you
jack
can't
of
say.
diamonds, that's
He's
kind of
the
I mean-
biggest idiot in the world.
Yeah, he could just donk.
You
me
could
easily,
fast
but
play
I
against some
wouldn't do it.
players, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't
not against.
you.
I'm a fish. 3,000. All right, so our SPR is horrible, and
wow, you got this all wrong.
Evan's probably just
okay,
Okay. Okay.
this is not.
This
We
is
got
the
this.
worst.
He
Okay.
folds. You win the hand. What was the turn?
You told me that it was the okay. Never mind.
The turn
So
was the king. The
then you
turn
just
was
ripped
the
it?
king.
well, it's
and I
because you
ripped
told
it.
us the flop was wrong.
So okay, the flop was queen 10 5 with 2
Okay.
diamonds.
Overcard comes, we decide to stick it in.
The turn is the king. So now it reads king, queen, 10, 5, 2 diamonds.
Oh my god.
You know,
Okay.
to be
And
frankly
then
honest,
you
I don't hate
shove.
this. I don't hate this. You have all the ace kings. You have all the king queens.
Listen,
I mean,
the flop call was wrong, okay? But the turn shove
I
is
agree.
much better,
I
actually.
agree, 100%. I don't mind it at all. I mean, you have no money behind. Not no money. You have $310, but you have no money behind. Like there's
yeah,
480 in the pot, and you have like 75, less than 75% of the pot in your hand, or like
Yep.
you have to rip it. Like
Absolutely, for sure. I retain all the nut combos pretty much, other than ace jack, but obviously neither of us have ace jack here unless it's like ace jack of diamonds.
so, what do you think this donkey is raising?
I know what he
Do you
had.
think he
Actually.
has queen jack of?
What did he have?
spades?
Wait, you know what he had?
I know what he had. He showed.
Yeah.
What did he show?
He showed queen 10. Listen, man, I was ahead of my time. Okay, I knew things. Soul.
Did you
read,
show the
bro.
bluff?
Yeah, I showed the bluff.
How did he react?
He was livid, dude. He was so angry.
He's probably sitting there like,
He's like, I made the sickest call.
I
bro.
unblock
I'm
all
so
the ace
sick."
jack combos. I unblock all the ace jack combos.
Yeah.
You
He
know,
was
I think
he
that's
was like
literally what he's
berating
sitting
me.
there
So
like.
he went in the tank for about 5 minutes. And
Oh yeah,
started,
that's
like,
what the note said.
So he
5 minutes?
for sure. Yeah, but the rant was like a Phil Hellmuth type rant. It was insane. I was like, I'm sitting here. I've been playing poker for like less than a year at this point, for sure. And I'm just like. And I go all in on this guy, and he's like, "Oh, like I don't think you're good enough to bluff in this spot. Like I just don't think." Da, 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 da. And he goes into it, and like I show the bluff, and just like the table freaks. Like the table goes
Love it,
crazy. It was
dude.
basically, it was like high stakes poker from like 2008.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was just like ridiculous. And but I actually do like the bluff on the turn. That's the thing.
No,
I stand by
absolutely.
that.
I'm not like I think you should not have been in this hand. You
For
should
sure.
not have played flop the way you did. But once you do those things, you have no option but to shove this turn card.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No
I think I did the right thing. And also it's like not a zero equity bluff, right?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
He has queen 10. I can still hit a flush. Like that's just
Yeah, I mean, you hit the flush more often than not, right, CJ? Like it's just so sick when you don't hit the flushes.
I'm not saying
No,
that I was
9
the
outs,
favorite.
dude. 9 of them. I had
No,
9 outs.
You absolutely weren't dead.
I'm not saying I was a favorite. I'm saying
No,
I had equity.
exactly. And
I was not
you
dead.
have to rip it. Because if
have to.
he's gonna bet, he might bet that. Like, what are you gonna do? If you expect, I mean, you probably don't call anyways with your flop. Okay, I'm actually interested. If he jams this turn, what do you do?
Oh man, Evan at the time, dude. I don't know,
Snaps. Evan at the time snaps.
dude. I was
sits
not
there and
that
thinks about
bad
it for
at
a
the
while,
time,
though.
Okay.
But then he goes, "It's for $300. I still have $300 in front of me." And then
Evan
he
talks
probably lays
about
it down.
shot taking, and he will play like 2-4 or whatever now 2-5, or higher. I'm not sure exactly, but old Evan would snap rebuy 2-4 in a half a second. That man couldn't spell bankroll management.
It's true though. It's true.
He has got Evan is a very, very good poker player, and this hand is not indicative of his
It was a
talent.
long
It's
time
fine.
ago.
It was a long
Come
time
on.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The last
would
time
like
I
to-
tried something even similar to that, it was like an ace jack board, and I like 3-bet somebody, and then I like ran a bluff where I jammed on a blank turn trying to rep like literally ace jack, and he goes, "Oh well, I only lose to ace jack," and calls with like ace deuce, and I was like,
Oh wow.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So we are going on to Evan has to stop memeing these rake hands. Is that the one we just did? Yes. Okay. So it's the next one. Poker Mastermind. Let's get after it. Okay. So I actually haven't read this hand. My boy TJ sent me this earlier and asked me to review it, and I was like, you know what? I'll just toss it on the podcast. And I feel as though when we don't know the hand, you probably read the hand. But
"Well, I mean, obviously because I do all the work." No, I'm kidding.
included it. Yeah,
Um,
Ryan did do the work for this podcast.
You're the
again.
producer for this
You know,
podcast,
that's
right?
what I do, man.
Yes,
That's
you know,
what I
I'm
do.
a little under the weather, so give me a break.
He's got the Rona.
Probably.
Let's see this hand. So, yeah, this one's interesting. Again, my name pops up there, but this is TJ. Say TJ, right?
Yeah, T-Bone, aka
T-Bone. 30-60
He's only 200
hand.
deep. I thought he. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. All right, pretty good hand.
Okay, Orlando
deep.
opens.
All right, please raise. Okay, yes, TJ.
There's
I
a
feel
bright
like even
sizing.
a month ago, you would have not raised to the sizing. You
T-Bone,
probably
right?
would have made it like $6.
He's I'm the best. Yeah.
He changed.
Oh,
his name.
now I'm the best, right?
Yeah.
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 Oh, I love this. Yeah, this
I
is
like.
great.
I like
That's
the sizing.
it's literally
Yeah.
the perfect sizing. I mean, that's exactly what the size I would have gone.
Really good.
Yeah, 1080 exactly.
Yeah, I would have gone 1080 exactly to the
Okay.
penny.
Such a douche.
Interesting that you get those two callers and then the two people who are
Trollin's
actually
definitely
in
not
position.
folding. If he
Never
calls,
fold.
and
Right.
there's a
Oh,
call
yeah.
behind.
There's a caller in between.
Tro-
He's going to
Trollin's
take any
never
hand of the flop.
folded to a 3-bet in his life. Are you kidding me?
Oh man.
Interesting
Oh, wow.
flop.
Oh boy. I
Interesting
forget
to
how
see
the
what's
action
going on.
goes here.
I have no idea. It's check.
Check,
Trollin
check.
checks.
And we bet.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. So he also notes here that he bets, and like we said, we want to know what the purpose of your bet is. He said that his purpose of this bet was to take the pot down, that he didn't want to get callers here, which I thought was kind of an interesting note to make here. And he was also betting expecting to take it down. But I also have problems with that statement as well. Because there's just a lot that can call you here.
I don't like this bet. I would bet like half pot.
Yeah, I think it's a little too big.
I would bet less.
I would bet like 40 to 50% of the pot. Cause like a 9, like a jack is definitely calling you here. I don't know. I just think it's way too big. Like if he has like, I think AK Orlando definitely could have ace X suited in his range.
And have the
which
ace
you
of
could
clubs.
also
I
just
think
be
especially
dead.
it's good to note that, being that this is 3 ways, I think that puts some weight on sizing it a little bit smaller as well.
Megan,
Sorry,
I'm seeing someone. Stop hitting on me.
My bad. So
Anyways.
I agree. I don't like the sizing. I think that you do not have a range advantage on this board at all. And Jack X isn't going to fold.
Unless
9X
you're
isn't going
nutting.
to fold. Probably. Yeah, unless you have the ace king of clubs.
King, queen of clubs, ace, king of clubs, ace, queen of clubs.
Yeah, for sure. And you also don't even have the ace of clubs, right? So the ace of clubs can still be out there.
Right.
So I don't like to bet. I honestly, I would bet like a third pot here and then like evaluate turns.
Yeah.
If I bet at all, honestly.
If I bet at all,
I like
which is an
a
interesting
third
point to make
pot
here.
a lot more than, especially given
'Cause it's a real
Orlando's
floaty bet to
stack
people.
size.
Yeah.
If we were deeper, I would like this bet a lot more, but I would also obviously like this bet a lot more if I had the ace of clubs.
Correct.
If you hit your
Sure.
if you hit your flush, you could still be beat.
Yep.
Like you could be
For
up
sure.
against an ace 10 off. You could be up against literally so many combos.
Queen
of
10
aces
of
with
diamonds
the ace
isn't
of
folding
clubs.
here. You hit the
Yeah,
king, you're
absolutely.
like this
You're in
is
trouble.
So I think you went a little big.
save
So-
money.
And
Calls,
Wonderland, oh my
2 calls.
god. Oh,
Of course they both call.
107 in the middle as we head to a turn.
Okay.
Oh, great.
I mean,
And it checks to
obviously,
us. Okay,
obviously
checks
a
to us at the
good-
8 of clubs.
a good card, but I wonder
See,
how you play
so
this.
so this is the issue, right?
Oh, he
So-
checked.
He checks the turn.
So this is the issue with the 8 of clubs coming on the turn, and what you did on the flop was a mistake, and now you're paying for it on the turn, right? You have now priced out every hand that could have full like
Floated
you would have you're killing all your floats on the flop, and then now that the 8 of clubs comes, your opponent's ranges are narrowed so much that you could absolutely be losing this hand, and you could probably be stone dead. I don't see that's the issue with the flop is you're like setting yourself up for a really.
So what do you do on turn when you get 2 callers on a 2/3 pot or 2/3 size bet on the flop? How do you play it?
Down bet.
Down bet to what? 30% of pot?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
33-ish.
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad play at all.
I don't like it either. And when you're jammed on from trolling, I think you snap. But if you're jammed on from
course.
Orlando, what do you do?
I think you fold right because it's an under the gun open. You weighted more towards the ace of clubs
Do you
there.
think he just jams queen of clubs and hopes you fold?
No,
Because
I
if you're gonna do that with,
do you think he's
queen of
that
clubs-
sick?
If you're calling though,
I don't know if he's that sick.
You have to jam or fold. You can't just
here's
flat
the
call
thing.
the third pot.
Right.
Here's the thing on the river. I think a big question you have to ask. It's like, all right, so there's a one-liner to a straight. Okay.
I think
now
we're still talking about turn right now, but
we are
we
still
are?
talking about the turn.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
So Orlando, like I've seen him pull off some pretty sick bluffs, and I've seen Trollin pull off some pretty sick bluffs. I don't know if I can fold the king of clubs to either of them. Like they might just own me with the ace of clubs if they have it, because I think that on the river with a 10, they might turn a 10 into a bluff here. If they even think that that's what they're doing. Like, I don't know. But like,
I don't know in what world that makes sense, but like, I feel like you might be right.
Dude, listen, man, I'm just saying.
I think you should wait until you see the action on this river.
Yeah.
With all said.
I know what happens.
No,
I know
please
the
push
result.
play. Push play. Just push play.
I feel like I'm going to see like 2 jams.
You're going to see.
Jam.
Oh,
one.
man. So there's a rip, and now here comes an interesting thing. So Trollin flats in between.
I told you.
Trollin flats in
What the
between.
fuck? When Trollin flat? Oh my god! What the fuck? Queen
told you.
9. Queen 9.
And here's why the turn check becomes very fruitful. Because like we said, because you made the mistake of betting that big on the flop, we thought we had priced out all of those hands that were going to continue there. Well, I guess Queen 10 makes sense calling behind aka Orlando, who, good lord, is lost with that Queen 9. And then when everyone checks turn, he's misread the situation for weakness, when in reality, both of you. So now comes the interesting point of when it goes jam call. You're sitting here with ace king with the king of clubs. All of this has just occurred. Why not put the rest of the money in? Why didn't Trollin? It becomes the interesting question there.
I think that's actually a really good point. I don't know if I would have done this in the moment, but in hindsight, jamming after Trollin's flat is super profitable. Like,
I 100% agree.
Because I think that totally weakens his range. Yes.
Yeah, because you're building a side pot
there.
Yeah, well, he's not flooding with the ace of clubs, right?
Right, no way. He wants the rest of your money.
And the queen of clubs has to call. You assume he has the queen more than the 10.
Right.
But also, he probably just jams turn because he's drawing.
And can I just point out how right I was about this? Like,
you were spot on.
Like,
you said the 10 would turn it into a bluff. He called. That wasn't exactly a bluff, so I'm gonna need you to take a step back.
Yeah, the 9 turned it into a bluff.
I also said that the queen of clubs or the 10 of clubs weren't folding. All right. So, and then queen 9, and I said that I've seen AK Orlando pull off sick bluffs before, and he just did.
Yeah, he really pulled this one off.
It's one thing to understand. It
worked.
Oh no!
You were very right. But so definitely an interesting hand, TJ. We don't love how you played it, but you took it down, so good job.
Yeah, I'm sure he was very happy with the result.
Got a lot of money. But is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we sign off today?
I got a cool new mouse that lights up.
Let's briefly talk about Evan's challenge because we won't have Evan.
Ooh, yes, please.
So Evan absolutely got railed last month, like we talked about. So this month you decided to make a challenge for yourself. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say railed. All right, like I wouldn't go that far. All right, I had a losing month. Okay, but yeah. Yeah, dude, I sold the house like so I could get back into the 30-cent, 60-cent games, and like I just, so basically, my challenge was, and I'll do this from time to time, is I started with like anywhere from $200 to $400. This time it was $400, and I just wanted to see if I could run it up, see if I could start at small stakes and then progressively build up to bigger stakes.
Yeah.
And that's mostly playing PLO. That's just because the micro stakes hold'em games weren't what I wanted them to be. It's not that they weren't profitable. It was just that it was just going to be way slower than it would be at the PLO games where people are just kind of giving away $50 bills everywhere. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna hop into the PLO and we're gonna run it up. And right now, I can tell you what we're at.
Was any of this challenge inspired by Joey Ingram, who's been trying to turn 500 into 5,000 every PLO session he plays?
I followed that, right?
Wow.
I've done this before. So I've done like challenges like this before, and it's always after kind of a downswing just to mentally reset, get confidence back, and then also just kind of stop the bleeding at the higher stakes that I normally play. But right now the bankroll is at $6,612 after today. I had a big session today. And,
Boy.
yeah, I had a big one. So we're basically, fully recovered from last month and pushing ahead toward profit land this month. But yeah, it's been fun.
Nice.
There we go. You love to hear it.
Yeah, man. Tell them about your downswing. Freaking
My
Dom.
downswing? I honestly wouldn't even consider it much of a downswing. I mean, losing 3K sucks, but like it was one session, and it was really only the last week. The last month, I had a pretty good month. I think I won about $8,000. So while losing $4,000 in a week sucks, long term, this year's been great for me. So
yeah,
I'm not gonna let it affect my mindset too much. It honestly is weird because I did have a negative 2K session like 10 days ago or something, and that one didn't affect me at all. But losing $3,000, I think it's just because I literally ran as bad as you possibly can, like flopping a straight and then just losing on the river when I'm so priced in for like a 2K pot, or losing to like we both had like trip nines and it was like king 9 versus ace 9, stuff like that. Like, I mean, it's not the biggest cooler in the world, but just when you have 4 or 5 of these heads up and you have these huge premium hands and you're losing, it doesn't feel good.
Heads up, it's worse for sure. Just because you're going to be good so much more often in those spots than you will in full ring or 6 max. And so it just sucks when they happen at higher stakes and all in a row like that. I mean, that's tilting, that can be, that can really suck. But yeah, I mean, how much money have you won this year, Bryce? What's your net worth?
What's my net worth? I think I'm up about 30,000 this year.
Flex on them.
Wow. So pretty good so far. Yeah, not too upset.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't, I mean, it's okay. Like it's
okay.
Not. Yeah,
we're getting there. We're getting there. Excited to play some 2-5.
Yeah, you're up almost.
Get back to it.
You're nearly up twice what I'm up this year.
Jeez.
Well,
that makes me feel great.
I actually think that's good for you because I think I'm more than double better of a player than you. So I think that even being up 15K is very good for you.
20,
and I think you'll get out of the 30-60 street soon.
Listen, man, not in your club that's dead.
I don't know. There's gonna be a full ring 1-2 game tonight, so you might want to watch out for that.
Bunch of nits.
No, the game will be good tonight. I promise you that.
Pretty good.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in again, and thank you for coming on, Evan. Definitely we'll have you back again in probably 3 months or something to get a progress update, and excited to go to Vegas with you and do the tag team event.
Heck yeah.
So that'll be a good time.
Ryan, you weren't invited on that.
No, you were not invited, Ryan. I don't like playing with nits. In tournaments, you need to play hands.
You want me for day 1A. I'm just gonna sit there and my command is play nothing but Jacks Plus.
I thought we were doing this 4 ways and we had Fizz up in here and she was gonna be part of this.
Yeah. No, he's doing that because he's a fish and fish need water.
Ryan Paul's consuming a lot of water. Wonder why. Oh. Sorry. I'm consuming water too. I basically drank this whole thing.
Damn, sick, bro. Oh, Ryan with the chugging water. Wow, sick, bro. But that
we
is
mentioned the clock. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that clock. Yeah, we should have talked about that. You old man. Just
go ahead.
Pottery barn. We're gonna close this podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week. We have an amazing guest. We don't actually have a guest plan, but it'll be great. We will see you then. Goodbye.